So what we decided to do is run a marathon in our house. Me, my mom, and my brother Tony are all runners, but mom says that she won't set foot outside the door until the hospitalization daily count is under 100 a day here in Baltimore. Dad said he's more of a sitter than a runner, but he'd be glad to man the water station. So the route we figured out was kitchen, dining room, up the stairs, my folks' room, my room, Tony's room, our bathroom, spare bedroom, down the stairs, TV room, hallway, Dad's office, downstairs bathroom, hallway, and back to the kitchen. So a marathon is 26.2 miles and a mile is 5,280 feet. Once around the house, like I described, we estimate at 230 feet. So 23 times around the house would be about a mile, and a mile would be, say, 600 times around the house. Dad's got the exact figures, I'm just estimating. So we did it on a Tuesday. Grandpa wanted to watch, so he came and sat outside the big floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room. He brought a six-pack. We started at 9 a.m. We had the numbers on and everything. Dad had this old .38 pistol, so he went outside and shot it in the air and off we went. Now, you see, the three of us couldn't really fit through a doorway at the same time, so there was a bit of bumping and cursing at the beginning, and, well, I knocked a vase over, and we had to call a timeout while I cleaned it up and Mom yelled at me. Then the police showed up because of the gunshot, but when we explained it to them, they just fell down laughing. One of them, Officer Hernandez, even came in and ran a few laps. And Dad was okay with it because he had a mask on. After about 3 hours, Dad sent out for pizza and we ate while we ran. Now, we have this German Shepherd named Hero, and he took exception to all the running, and he bit my brother in the butt, which caused some controversy, and then Dad decided to run for a little bit, but he'd stayed up too late watching TV, fell asleep while running, and then ran straight through the bay window. But he didn't even get a scratch, and he got up with Grandpa and had a cold one. Mom finished in first at around 3 o'clock, and me and Tony were neck and neck, but he pushed me over the sofa with about 20 laps to go. So I hid in the closet, and when he ran by, I shoved it open, and when I whacked him, he fell down the stairs. So I beat him. It was pretty much a good time, but Hero took off to the bay window, and it took 2 hours of running around to find him. You see, the good thing about everything is that the nice police actually called the TV, and they sent the film crew out. So we ran a few laps for them, and we got on the television, and, well, I set up a Zoom date with the weather girl. Dad and Grandpa boarded up the window, and Mom was okay with it because she came in first. All in all, I'd say that this is the best day of staying at home, and now we're studying up on how to have an indoor golf championship. Grandpa's in on that one. Life goes on, right? Life goes on.
Wow, that is so nice. I believe you to be the first person who's asked about me since early 2018. And you're just leaving flowers on people's porches. You're also the first person I've talked to, other than kinfolk, since we started hiding out in our houses. I know it's through a window screen, but I'm going to count it as a personal conversation. I'm a high school junior with what I would say to have my low expectations. My mom calls me reticent, and my dad calls me quiet. But to be absolutely candid, I just don't have a personality. So you can tell I don't have a personality because nobody ever gave me a nickname. Well, one kid did call me Zero, but he moved to Arkansas. I mean, I would so enjoy being called Juice, or Slippery, or Cannibal, but no such luck. Without a nickname, you're pretty much doomed to a non-personhood and invisibility. But I worked on it. I made up a whole list of adjectives like heavy and judicious, and I spent a whole day trying to be like that. But my mom just sent me to the doctor and put me on a bland diet. I learned some jokes, but I can never remember the ending, which was embarrassing, self-concerned. What I really aspire to be is magnetic and have people drawn to me. I moved into bright colors, but this girl came up to me and whispered, "Don't be orange." I'm using my homestay time to figure out what profession would suit me. My dad says an accountant, but I can't find. I'm guessing division is pretty important to be an accountant, right? Other than that, I'm smart as a whip. Before COVID, accounts came to school. and told me, "Well, Miss Cortisone, these tests prove conclusively that you have no personality whatsoever, and you are perfect for the CIA." Well, that's what I planned to aim for. It turns out the school world after this. But my sister cheered me up because she said I was restful, and that's a good quality to have when you're creeped up. I suppose the family member was nobody good. Say, before going with your flyers, can I ask you a personal question? Am I invisible to the naked eye?
There's nothing like staying at home for 3 months to help figure out your family. When I look back, I'd have to say I didn't take them seriously. My family, I mean. I think maybe I thought they were like the furniture that you had to look out for, so you didn't bump into them. My dad, I took him to be like a firework so he was careful not to blow up. My mom, she was just waiting it all go. But I don't think I saw her beyond that. My sister Ellie, she's poison ivy. And my older brother Comet was a ride to school and a loud noise around the house. I guess you could say I was so self-concerned, I didn't know who anybody was. Oh, surprise, surprise, they're human beings. I mean, I started really watching it, like I was on a visit to the zoo, and it turns out they're complicated. Who would have guessed? Well, I started to see them with this rule I made up for myself, called the 6 things. It just hit me. I was mainly seeing them as one thing, which boiled them down to nearly invisible. So I said to myself, Melissa, which is my name for myself, even though Susan in the birth certificate. Melissa, the 6 things is Ellie today. Like yesterday, she was scared, bossy, funny, smart, fed up, and clumsy. Shoot, I could put down 10 things if it was in my rules. Yesterday, she was 5 entirely different things, but still bossy. Now you would think I'm out of my mind, which I didn't know my family was complicated. What I found out that has kind of changed my life is that they are interesting. They're surprising. I mean, some days they're actually worth being around. I forget that woman saying who went to some country or other and spent most of her life living with apes. You know what I mean. And it turns out my family is just as interesting as apes. Seriously, they are. I wake up every morning and say to myself, Melissa, let's get downstairs and see what the girls are up to. I hate to say this, but I'm enjoying it.
That's a good question. I guess I'd say what goes down the tubes being locked down at home is secrets. It's just really hard to keep a secret in 1,100 square feet. You're basically under a parental microscope, which is a desperate situation. Plus, it's exacerbated by the fact that Dad took the door off my bedroom. It's amazing the impact door removal has on your life, particularly if your bedroom is right at the top of the stairs. See, one of my main hobbies is to get all the pillows in the house, stack them on my bed, close the old door, and spend quality time reading forbidden magazines I get from Willis, the semi-deranged college student who rents a home for Mr. Clapper next door. Well, that particular form of enjoyment is definitely off the table now. Now, I'm not saying I'm overloaded with horrendous secrets or anything like that. What I am saying is that having to stay home 24/7 with my bedroom door gone has interfered with my favorite vices. I'll give you the example of Twizzlers. You do know what a Twizzler is, don't you? Okay, it's an 8-inch long, twisted, rubbery stick of candy that purports to be licorice, while actually being cornstarch, palm oil, citric acid, and potassium sorbate. They're enjoyable not so much for their taste, which is negligible, but for a gluey consistency, which is fun to chew. I would guess I eat 6 or 7 dozen blue raspberry licorice twists on a daily basis. Well, that little pleasure is gone with the wind. Now, talking about Twizzlers is actually a way of avoiding my actual secret, which is that there's a zombie in my closet. See, one night, about a month ago, we got this big storm, and around 2 a.m. I heard this noise outside. And looking out, there was this poor zombie trying to get in the doghouse for shelter. I mean, it would just break your heart. So I took him in, and I brought him upstairs and hid him in my closet. See, this wouldn't be a popular choice with my mom in terms of general cleanliness, and my father's a geneticist, so I shudder to think what experiments he would devise. My idea is to wait for better weather and put him on a bus for Florida, where I don't think his true identity would be discovered. But as it is, he gets bored every night and I let him out around midnight and we play Call of Duty for a couple of hours. So what I really want to ask is, could you take him for a few weeks? My mom's looking for projects and she says we should go through my closet.
I am in love with James Fenimore Boswell and his red walking shorts. One good thing about homestay is that our front windows get to kind of be like a television. Yesterday, I saw 17 breeds of dogs going by, including a French bulldog and a Pomeranian. What I want to see though is an Alaskan Klee because come on, who doesn't want to see that? Anyways, one day, James Fenimore Boswell came by wearing his red walking shorts and bouncing a basketball, and my heart just split open like a pomegranate. I mean, he walks with such a buoyant assurance while retaining a sense of mystery, you know? That's just an unusual combination. Then, 2 days ago, I flung open the front door and yelled out, "What's your name?" And without breaking a stride, he yelled back, "I am James Fenimore Boswell, and don't you forget it." I believe that to have been a declaration of his affection, and that we were bound together by an invisible bond. Oh, he comes by at 11:42, so I gotta go. I kind of think of us to be like Romeo and Juliet, only we don't have a balcony, and you can understand what we say. I'll talk to you later.
About 2 weeks after they said people had to stay home, we found out my sister wasn't going to make it. She had something they called Ray's syndrome that causes swelling in the liver and brain. She was no holds barred stubborn about wanting to stay home. She said dying was strange enough without doing it in a strange place with strangers. My mom was an ICU nurse, so home is where she stayed. Her room had pink and white striped wallpaper and a ceiling with stars on it that glowed in the dark. She had every album Taylor Swift ever made, and they played all day. She said Taylor was going to sing her out. We have 2 dachshunds named Lucy and Miss Kind Imagine, and those dogs would get up on her bed and snuggle close until she went to sleep every night. She told me not to be sad, because she had had a really great time every day of her life, not counting the last 2 weeks. She didn't feel like talking much, but she wanted us to. She said she was holding on to our words. She said our voices were keeping her with us as long as possible before she left on her journey. So Mom and Dad and me and Grandma, who had stayed with us at the time, just kept the words going and didn't let the silence in. Mom stayed in there with her, sitting in a rocking chair Grandma had made. She had us all write messages to her on her sheets that she could take with her on her travels. We each wrote one every day. I remember on her last Wednesday, I asked her how she was doing, and she said she had finished packing her bags. She said she was sorry for the trouble, but I had to live 2 lives now because she was leaving me hers. When she was gone, the 2 dachshunds howled. So did I, but I did it inside where you couldn't hear. There's more to silence than you think.
I collect Swedish fish. No, I mean this seriously. This is not a joke. And now that I hardly get out, well, Swedish fish are pretty much my life. Don't you laugh at me. I mean, who is to say how we should spend our time? What are you doing, Big Shot? I'm not just messing with candy here. I'm doing a deep dive. Plus, it's an investment that's going to pay for college. So wipe that grin off your face. That's better. For instance, as you know, there are different flavors. Lemon, lime, grape, orange, and hold on to your hats, lingonberry. Didn't know that, huh? Those are the red ones. Lingonberry, also known as cowberries, are rich in anthocyanins. I can go into the chemistry and anyways, I send a little packet, and Swedish fish are shaped like fish, duh. And they're Swedish. I can go into the chemistry and blah, 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 but here's the deal. I send a little packet of the fish in all 5 colors. Whoa, hold it. Please tell me everybody else on this planet knows that they're candy, right? Phew. Anyways, I put 5 fish in all colors with a red cross guard for them to return to me in a notarized signed response, a 1-word description of the culinary experience in eating the fish, plus a little personal drawing of said fish. For instance, Vladimir Putin wrote back, "Whoop, they tasted like colored wax." Dwayne Johnson said, yuck, and that they got sick in his teeth, and when he got him out through his fillings. Greta Thunberg, the climate activist, wrote that she would never eat such a thing, but she had them made into earrings. All told, I got 147 responses, and the drawings were so cute there's going to be a show at the Guggenheim Museum. Plus, I'm putting out a coffee table book of all the responses for Christmas. What have you been doing with your time?
Boy, I tell you, Brianna, I'm glad you live next door. I always thought our two houses being so close together was like claustrophobic, but now talking window to window is all that's keeping me from going back guano crazy. I mean, you can only talk to a box chair for so long, but you know what? I mean, you can't tell anybody this on the pain of death, but I'm starting to like my parents. Don't you dare laugh at me, Brianna. I'm starting to think that they might be part human, just part, but it's definitely in there. My dad actually made me laugh, and I thought he had his sense of humor surgically removed. And my mom, I truly thought she only knew 4 words, no, and clean your room. But yesterday, she asked me for an opinion. Yeah, an actual opinion. I was so surprised I backed up and fell over a footstool. She wanted to know what I thought the most important qualities a person could have were. I mean, she stood still, made eye contact, and spoke in a human voice. So I bumbled around for a bit and came up with kindness and appreciation. She said those were good, and she thought I had them. Can you believe that? So later that day, I tried it out with Dad, and he actually put down his leaf blower, which I believe he carried with him out of the womb, and was on the garden bench and talk jobs, professions. He told me about his grandfather, who was an Olympic fencer, became a banker, and one day stood up from his desk and shouted, "Man is more than mortgage," walked out to fencing to grade school kids, till he died at 87, in the middle of a post. Whatever that is. I asked Dad if he ever dreamed of doing something crazy, and he told me as a young man he had fantasized of trapeze, but he couldn't support a family career on that. He did a tour of the South with a small-time circus whose main attraction was a dead level constructed on ice. I don't know, Brianna. It's a tough time, but for the first time, I'm starting to think a family is a good thing, even if you have to live with them.
You have a sister, right? And she's 5. Do you use younger? I've got one too. I mean, what on earth are you supposed to do with one? Mine's 2 years younger, and we had all figured out how to stay away from each other. We were pretty careful not to pass downstairs. I mean, we're pretty different. She's made it out nice one thing, and I took a little informal, and I'm generally thought to be 9% more attractive. Her name? Wow, I forget. I just call her Snakebite. Avery, that's it. But in the present circumstances, she's unavoidably irritating as well. She whistles tunelessly. I mean, there is no way you could figure out a tune. And she's premeditated. She comes into your room nice and quiet, but when she sees me, she starts whistling. When I ask her to stop, she goes, "Oh, was I whistling? I'm so sorry," and stops whistling and starts humming. I could see that's not the deal, and I'm sorry I have to get into this, but I'm pretty sure she's a vampire. No, don't laugh. She sleeps during the day and gets up at night. I was doing a game of phone bench last week, and she comes in at like 3 in the morning with this little rivulet of blood trickling down the corner of her mouth. And I go, "What's that?" And she says, "Oh, I took a little fall." Then last night, I wake up and she's standing over my bed staring at me. And I go, "What?" And she says, "You're so pretty when you're asleep." And get this, her eye color is changing. It used to be this warm brown and now they're practically black. I mean, exactly what do you do when you're staying at home for your health and your sister is a vampire? Then this morning, I just scrambled my eggs, and in the paper on the counter, there's an article about a farm owner who raises sheep. 3 have been ripped apart, and he thinks it's wolves. I tried to bring it up with Mom, but she just kept saying, "Oh, poo." She said that like 15 times. So, you're my most level-headed friend, so I really, really need your advice on this. So be completely frank and honest with me, okay? Should I put a stake through her heart?
Okay, Mom, listen, no, really. Stay with you and hear me out. Yes, I know you have chicken in the oven, but please, please listen, Mom. Okay, I respect that you don't like to talk about Dad's death. I don't either, but I don't even know how to get into this. Mom, you know how he was a pack rat and he had all those boxes stuff I told him, and you don't like to think about that. I don't either, but I don't even know how to get into this. Mom, you know how he had all those boxes. Anyway, it was really boring staying in this house for like months, and I couldn't help it. But I went into the garage and looked through a couple of boxes, just a couple, and one was fishing truck, lures and boots and pliers, definitely just get rid of it. And one was tools, all that stuff did woodworking with. There were spiders in that one, yuck. And then the third one, Mom, the third one of diaries, Mom, did you know he wrote diaries? Well, he did, 33 in these like school test books or something. The first one when he was 12, the last one he is the, so I mean, do we read them or not? I mean, I love him, but what's with this? You said yourself, you could set your clock by his habits. He was a bus driver. How does a bus driver write 33 diaries? He drove the bus. He came home. We ate dinner. He watched TV. Right? What's that to write about? And then I got to think how he took fishing vacations by himself. And who were those people who called him in the middle of the night? And who were those 3 guys at the funeral you didn't know? And one of them fired a pistol in and lowered her down and then split. I mean, what do we do now? Do we read them? See what I mean? Do we read them together? I don't know. I put them right back when I saw what they were. They scared me. I think I like the dad I knew. I think that's the dad I want to keep. I just get this feeling we should burn them. Tell me what we should do.
This home thing, right? It's like a drug. Seriously. I have this backyard that's just like the Amazon. I mean, I only know the Amazon for movies, but you get my meaning. The yard is small, but it's like a plant festival. I went out there yesterday and counted over 300 plants before I got bored. And the light, it's changing on the leaves every half hour. It's like a rock and roll light show, seriously. So I'm standing out there completely absorbed, and then, like a train wreck, my brain says to me, there are hundreds of people dying out there and beyond. I had to shake it off like when somebody slaps you, and I think, Death is out there walking with his scythe and black robe, and I'm here about a plant. What's that about? I got into this guilt thing about being safe because other people can't be. See what I mean? What's my responsibility here? I'm on the human team, right? So I remember my uncle, who's this export-import guy, came by our house and dropped off this box of masks. Maybe 100 masks? I grabbed a bunch of them onto the street. People are walking their dogs and stuff like that, and maybe only 1 or 2 of them are masked up. So I say to people, how about a mask? No charge. They're polite, they say no thanks or I'm fine. Only 3 or 4 people will take a free mask. And in our city, there were over 3,000 cases yesterday. So I think, what are human beings up to? In the garden, every plant seeks the light. They're doing acrobatics just to get to the light. But out here, people are turning down a free mask. In an hour, only 3 people took a mask. Are plants smarter than people? Do they have a greater will to live or what? So I go home and I lay it out for Mom. And she just shakes her head. I ask Dad, and he says, well, you're alive and the sun is shining, you think you're mortal. It doesn't compute for me. There was a tiger in the neighborhood, they would stay home, right? Anyway, I'm back out with the plants. They get it. They're growing towards the light.
I'm in my 18th hour now. Well, almost, and, well, I have to tell you the honest truth. I don't think I'm gonna make it. You see, my goal was to wash my hands for 24 hours straight. Well, that includes the time spent drying them, and, well, every 3 hours, my sister Clementine comes in and washes one of my hands while I use the other one to eat M&Ms and keep my energy up. The whole thing is on GoFundMe if you want to get in on it. My goal was to raise $100,000 for healthcare workers. Now, every 5 hand washes, I do a skin lotion wash so I don't get down to the bone. My father calls me a lunatic, but he comes in and pats my back every once in a while. My mother went to bed, turned out the lights, and locked the front door. There's this huge crowd of people outside of our house with cheerleaders from the university. Right now they're doing a cheer. Wash 'em up! Wash 'em up! Wash 'em up! Good! Well, maybe you can hear them, but you see, the thing is, I think I'm starting to hallucinate. Right now, Ben Franklin is whispering helpful advice like, he that lies down with dogs will rise up with fleas. And a right heart exceeds all. He's really irritating, but he won't leave. Earlier was Richard Nixon saying, it's a piece of cake until you get to the top. His breath smells like a really questionable hot dog. When I look down, my hands look like fish fins, and Kurt Cobain from Nirvana sitting on the toilet doing riffs from Love Buzz. Oh, but I am not a quitter. My friend Bubsy holds up a chalkboard so I can see what washing I'm on. Right now, I am on my 538th wash. But interestingly enough, Bubsy's face no longer has eyes. Also, my hands are no longer attached to my body, which is sitting on a lounge chair in Clearwater Beach in Florida. Now, I have a message for the American public. Wash your hands often, but maybe not this often. Over and out.
My dad is the first base coach for the Washington Nationals. He couldn't cut it as a player, but he loves the game, so he hung around. Now, nobody knows what a first base coach does, right? Well, first of all, you have to be a positive personality. You get to run around first. You want to make them feel good, celebrate their accomplishments, so to speak. Give them a pat, give them a smile. Then you call up foul balls so batters don't waste their energy running. Let them know the number of outs, tell them where to take up. When you're around first, try for second, a whole lot of different stuff. But mainly being a first base coach keeps Dad in the game he loves. He's two different guys. At home, he's gentle, he's quiet, he lets Mom be the boss. At the park, he's in constant motion, talks the blue streak for 9 innings, lives or dies on the steal. And then comes COVID, right? The game shuts down. He doesn't know who he is. He's clearly depressed. He goes up on the roof and just sits there. It's like his whole body just wants to head to the park. And he tries to pretend like he's feeling fine, but he's not feeling fine. Not even close. Then the league decides to open up again. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line. Him, the players. Everyone's going to stay in hotels and play without the fans. Mom's happy for him, you know? She says she'll help him pack. It's like she hands him his life back. But what happens next, I saw. I was right there. He didn't even miss a beat. He smiles, this big smile, and says, "No way! Go do that and bring the bug back to you? Nuh-uh, won't happen." He didn't even hesitate a split second. And then he grabs my mom and they dance. Some old-fashioned, I don't know the name of it. And right then, watching my mom and dad, I figured I would love this. It's two people dancing right in the middle of a real hard role for a lifetime. I didn't get it before. The other day I was helping Dad organize the garage, and I asked him how he decided to stay home. And he told me the key thing for a first base coach is to know when to hold the runner at first. My dad, he knows the game.